Liz rocks and stuff. Liz here. It's time for episode 71 of What's in My Tumbler. And we're going to start out with my Dopal batch, or the Dendritic Opal. This is coming out of stage 4 this week. I am very excited to see how this turns out um, because it was just. I've never tumbled this type of opal before, so I was very excited to see how it turned out. And yes, if anybody is super observant, I have done my nails because I realized I've been putting my hands on the internet for a year and maybe I should put some effort into it. Um, but for starters, I am going to do what should have been a burnish cycle with borax, but I was not thinking and just went ahead and put some ivory soap in for my final cleaning cycle. It's okay though. They turned out great. Um, so we're going to do a quick cleaning cycle, and also I normally film all in one day, but I wasn't able to do that this week, so I had to film very, very early in the morning when it wasn't quite bright enough outside, and I was using my light. So that's why the second rinsing on everything is going to be, for at least the first two, is going to be a little dark and shadowy because I'm using my lights, and yeah. So, got those all rinsed off. We're going to get them dried, and then let's take some closer looks, and you can see they turned out very nice and shiny. I like the darker ones the most, but I love all of them. They turned out so nice. That's one of the darker ones. And then one that's just mostly white. Now these don't have that opalescence, that I forget what it's called, that rainbowy sort of look to them. That's not, this type of opal doesn't have that. But they are still very pretty. And Momo is saying hi. Don't know if you guys can hear the purring. All right, moving on to the Meg. This is Picture Jasper, Sci-Fi Jasper, and Ocean Jasper all together. This was in stage 2. Um, so we're going to get that all rinsed off and put it through a cleaning cycle with some ivory soap. I don't have anything to rant about this week, so you guys are going to get to hear most of the sounds, I guess. Anyway, so a tablespoon of ivory soap, and this is going to go tumble for overnight in this case, since I normally do just a few hours, but I did overnight this week because I just wasn't able to get to them in the same day. Um, and you can see they kind of needed it. That wasn't super dark foam, but it was pretty gray, so they did definitely need a bath. I'm going to get those nice and cleaned off, and now I'm going to inspect and make sure I don't have anything that is chipped or broken. I do this so that anything, if it does chip or break, it will have a sharp edge at this point, and that is going to cause scratches to the other rocks, and we don't want that. So I also wanted to top this up. I wasn't too happy with it, and I like to make sure that my barrels are nice and full, especially at this point, because if they're not, they can bruise pretty badly going into stages 3 and 4. So a tablespoon of borax, 3 tablespoons of stage 3, and then these are ready to move on. I also wrote a little teeny tiny 3 and then realized I probably should just write that bigger, so rewrote that. Now, third, we have the Amethyst. This is in stage 3, going into stage 4. So we're going to do a quick rinse on this. It is looking really good. I'm very happy with how this is turning out so far. I have tumbled Amethyst in batches of other rocks before, but I haven't tumbled it just by itself. So I'm very curious to see if I can do this, because it can bruise fairly easily. It can break fairly easily. So I'm trying to be very gentle with it. So we're going to give it a bath with some ivory soap. And then before we move it on into stage 4 this week. So this will be done next week. So give it another rinse. Make sure we get all the soap off. And again, we had a lot of rain, so my rocks are just not draining well. That's been like every week, I realize, but it's, I guess, rainy season here. So do a quick inspection. I'm actually very surprised that none of these have broken. I don't think I've ever tumbled like a banded amethyst that didn't end up breaking at some point. So it's nice that these have not broken. I don't know if these are just a better quality than I have tumbled in the past. So maybe that's a testament to actually, purchasing your rocks from a good source, especially if they're going to be more fragile rocks like these amethysts are. So a tablespoon of borax, 3 tablespoons of polish, and then these are going to be ready to go for another week. And they should be nice and shiny next week. We'll see. I've been surprised in the past with rocks that I thought were going really nicely, and then they turned out not so great. All right, Dumortierite. This is Dumortierite with some mixed rocks. Dumortierite is the hardest rock in here, so that's the one that I am mostly wanting to get shiny. So that's the hardest rock in here. It's not going to get beat up or bruised by the other rocks in here, which is mostly your concern with mixed batches. When you have mixed batches, the softer rocks will get beat up and dinged, and they won't shine up like the rest of them will. So in this particular batch, I am aware that that's a possibility, but the Dumortierite is as hard or harder than the other rocks in here, so it should be fine. At least that's my theory. And totally forgot to put soap in this bath, so it just tumbled in some water overnight. But that's okay. You'll see that it still did something, because the water in here is very, very gray. I did not realize till I opened it up that I hadn't put anything in it. But you can see it did actually do a decent job of still cleaning it. And I did still rinse it off a bit. It should be fine. We'll see. If this doesn't shine up, we will blame it on that, right? So because I made a mistake and didn't use soap in a cleaning cycle, that's why it broke, or it didn't work. Anyway, inspecting this for chips and breaks. It's very early in the morning. I'm so tired right now. All right, so chips, nothing's chipped or broken. So we're very happy about that. Putting the media back in, and then we're going to do a tablespoon of borax, 3 tablespoons of polish, and this will be ready to go for another week. All right, now we have a new barrel that's empty, so we got to figure out what I'm going to put in here. So we're going to start off with some Mexican Crazy Lace agate. I have tumbled this before. It's one of my favorite rocks when it's finished. You can get some crazy, amazing looking rocks with this. And then we are also going to include some Mookite. This is a type of jasper. So the Mookite is much bigger than the lace that I have. So once I put the water in it, I wasn't too happy with how much space was at the top there. So I'm going to top that up with a couple more pieces of the agate. And then we are going to add in a tablespoon of borax. And then 3 tablespoons of stage 1 grit. That's a 2 tablespoon scoop, so I do a scoop and a half of that. In case anybody's wondering why I say 3 tablespoons, but I only put 2 in. It's a 2 tablespoon scoop. There was a rock that was sticking up a little bit high and not letting me push down that seal all the way, so I had to move that around. All right, get this all buttoned down, and now we got to figure out what am I going to call this batch. I had a couple of options, but I decided to go with Crazy Cow. So this is in stage one. I expect this will take a while to actually be ready to move on. Agate and Jasper can sometimes take a while to shape up, so we will see if I'm right about that. Thanks for watching. I know this wasn't too exciting this week, but I hope to see you back next week.